Get ready to quit the build. The QTB Crew is rounding up all the gaming news and hot topics of the week with a little extra something. And here are your hosts, Bruno, Brad, and Nick.
What it do? You're listening to the QTB podcast. I'm your host, Bruno, and with me, the brothers McMuffin, the boys of QTB. We got Nick, we got Brad. What it do?
Oh my gosh.
What's going on, fellas?
Wow, Bruno. I mean, it has been an action-packed week. Not only for QTB, a lot of stuff going on for us. Of course, the launch of our new merch shop, qtbshop.com. Amazing new designs and the launch of multiple new designs to celebrate the premiere of that new platform. And we got so much more merch on the way, so stay tuned for that. But a very big step for us. We are excited about that. And of course, you know, the gaming news this week, we kind of predicted this coming out of New Year's that it was a little bit slow, but things are going to start to pick up. And I think what we weren't expecting was this huge news about just the massive success of the premiere of The Last of Us. We'll be getting into that. A spoiler-free, of course, review of that first episode. And of course, beyond that, also, we got to talk a little bit later about the absolute majesty of the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers. The trailer has just dropped for the reunion episode. It's going to be a whole special with many returning cast members from the first seasons. I mean, it's, you know, it's a grim reminder, Brad, of how long it's been since that's been on the air, over 25 years. They, you know, most of them have aged.
Yeah, I mean, you know, unfortunately, Father Time is not too kind to everyone. Even though we bring him back, there's a definite, you know, nostalgia factor that kind of gets a little watered down when you kind of see how things have aged over time. So, but still, I'm still here for it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we are going to get into that in just a little while. But as always, we do want to get into our first little intro segment, go around the horn here and see what's been going on with them video games. Okay, Bruno, you got any exciting game adventures this week?
You know, Nick, I've been playing a lot of Nintendo Switch, okay? I've been getting into just everything that it has. I've been playing through Mario Odyssey a little bit. I got Super Mario Land 3D. I haven't quite touched Bowser's Fury yet. I've been getting my feet wet with the original game. And of course, I've been playing some Mario Kart 8. You know, I've been trying to collect all the stars. Right. For that, and that's a tedious project, and I've still got stuff to unlock in the game. So, you know, I think I read an article this week that said, you know, why now was the worst time to buy a Nintendo Switch, and I think that our article couldn't be, you know, more wrong, you know, in that respect, because I think it's a perfect time to buy a Switch. I think there's tons of games that you can get. I actually downloaded Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker.
Okay. Yeah, that's an older Switch title. Yeah.
Yeah, that was on sale. And you know, I mean, if you've played through Super Mario 3D Land, those little mini games that you get in there are already, you know, Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, right? Where you get to kind of have that 3D puzzle platform. And it's just a great game. Like, I can see why they made that a standalone title. I can play that with my wife as well. And boy, that's a lot of fun. You know, us fighting over the right angle to see what's going on
yeah, of course.
in the game as you're rotating the camera. But, you know, that along with, of course, some sim racing. I'm doing some sim racing and getting my feet wet with everything in Assetto Course. I've just been downloading some new cars and running them on track. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do more long play content like that for our YouTube page. But we might have to bring Brad in on this, because I know he's been itching to get back into Fortnite. Brad, what's been going on this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always perusing the Fortnite every night, or kind of checking in. But I actually went to the Game Pass. I was looking for something a bit different. You know, I wanted to kind of change it up. And so I actually found a game from 2013 that I downloaded called Max Curse of the Brotherhood. So it's kind of a puzzle platform. puzzle platform video game developed by Press Play. And it's just been it's just like a fun kind of more story mode game where you're Max, the older brother, you're annoyed with your younger brother. He's in your room breaking your toys, and then you end up causing him to get kidnapped by this creature in another world, and then you go dive into that world to go find and save him. And it's just kind of like I said, a puzzle platform 2D. You're kind of maneuvering through the levels and trying to go back and save your brother. So it's just been kind of a fun. It seems like it's been kind of updated, remastered. It's got great graphics, and it's just been a fun, easy play. So just been playing a little solo campaign on that, along with hopping on the stream with Nick and picking up some dubs on Fortnite. What can I say?
We had a good stream there that last Fortnite, of course, on Fridays. We have our Friday Fortnite night where we start off solo and then we move into some games with some of our viewers. I will say I did the tournament last week to open things up with Aaron Gray, and I'll tell you, it's tough out there. It's tough out there in tournament world.
How did that go?
It was not good because I started on controller, and I'm playing against mouse and keyboard sweats like it was going to be a bad time. And then it kind of transitioned into, after that, I was like, you know what? I got a brand new mechanical keyboard. I got a new mouse. I need to put them to work. So I spent the rest of the stream getting better with mouse and keyboard, made a lot of progress. So I think, will I do another tournament? Probably not. It's not really my speed. But it was fun to try. That's awesome, Brad. I love the idea of just going into Game Pass, just pulling a game and just seeing what you get. And worst case scenario, the only thing you really lost was time, and you still have that whole library to hop right back into. And of course, you can stream it too, so you're not really losing any.
I was pulling a page out of 1 Hour One Decisions book. I said, hey, why don't I go just pick a game, play it for an hour, see what I thought, and I found myself wanting to go back to it. Like I said, hey, you know what? That was fun enough and a change of pace that I want to go back to it and pick it up again. And maybe I'll play it here and there, but it's a good, you have your core games that you want to go to more frequently, but then you need your filler games that kind of give you that diversity. And I feel like this is one that I'm going to go back to, and I'll do a playthrough through it. I don't think it's going to be a terribly long game, but that's what's great. I can play through it once, beat it, and then go back to Game Pass and find something else.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you guys, I have had a wild adventure the last week in gaming. Not only have I been doing all the games we've been playing on stream lately, from, of course, our usual Fall Guys and our amazing Fortnite stream like we talked about there, got through unpacking in one sitting. It was. I mean, there was plenty of beans. I got through another box of the Bernie Bots beans as a stream incentive, and I'll tell you, it was mostly soap and lemons. Soap and lemons for this guy. My mouth tastes like Lemon Pledge by the end of that stream. It was rough.
Need more lemon pledge.
It could be worse. It could be worse.
The rotten egg box where I got 8 rotten eggs. That was I almost had to just we're pausing the challenge because somebody put too many rotten eggs in this box. Anyway, but no. In addition to our streaming, I have been having a lot of fun, kind of kickstarting a little bit of a retro game collection. I had been talking about doing this for a while. And even though the retro market right now is kind of inflated, there are still some places that aren't really trying to go this whole route of way overcharging people for what the actual fair market value of a game is. And so I have a local store here in where I'm living called Cartridges Galore. It is a chain, but it's a fairly small chain compared to GameStop. And I walk in there. Yeah, I walk in there with kind of no expectations. Like I'm thinking, okay, let me just walk in, see what they have, and kind of decide from there like what I want to do to kickstart this collection. I walk in and they've got this just pristine Generation 1, Series 1 Sega Genesis, like the classic one with the headphone jack, all that. And then right next to it was a console that I have wanted for a very long time because I never grew up with Sega consoles aside from my Dreamcast and aside from my Game Gear, was the Sega Saturn, which is a very, I wouldn't say obscure, but lesser known console and rarer too. Good price on it. I said, I'm buying that. So I have been kind of scouring through eBay land and beyond, trying to get good deals on these games. And I just popped in, was it Sonic 3D Blast, which is like an isometric top-down platformer. And it is absolutely magic. I just got lost in that before the podcast for a good hour and a half. And just, emulation is great, and there's a reason for it these days because a lot of these publishers and developers, they've dissolved, and there's no good way to get them out to the people again in a re-released fashion. And if it is, there's changes, right? Whereas actually playing these games on the original hardware when you have the ability to do so, it just hits differently. And the adapters they're coming out with these days to get the AV signal to HDMI, the input lag is lower than it used to be. It just plays great, and it's taken me back, man. Just a really fun week for me. I'm waiting for some more games to come in as well, so I'll have to definitely document that in some way because it's been a journey. I'm right back in the mid '90s right now between this and the Power Rangers news. Everything's coming up, Nick, this week.
You even got the Quit the Build Speed shirt, our Sonic inspired Quit the Build shirt, which I love. But yeah, I mean, I was super jelly when I saw that. I think Sega's, as a Sega kid as well, and I got to tell you, they're a rare breed. Okay, that's how you know if you're a real gamer is if you had Sega Genesis. Okay, really, because let's be honest, the real every man's console, of course, was the SNES and NES. So I mean, everyone had those, but the real gamers out there got yourself a Sega Genesis and maybe even fell into the trap of a 32X. Maybe like Nick said, of course, you were in that Zen moment of Dreamcast awesomeness, which was
late
incredible.
90s,
I love the Dreamcast. Absolutely incredible console. We'll defend it till the death. Okay, that is a hill I will die on when it comes to it just was misunderstood, and unfortunately, it's just
diversity of consoles that you two, the diversity of consoles that you two both experienced were definitely greater than mine. So I'd be interested to hear that.
We're here for you, Brad.
That debate. Yeah, I went straight from the N64 to the first Xbox, and I have been Microsoft brand loyal to this day. So
well, Nick had the Nintendo VR, the original VR. What was it? Virtual Boy.
The Virtual Boy. I did. I wish I still had it, but you don't think about these things when you're young.
No, and I went over to your house and I remember playing it, and I'm pretty sure that's why I have to wear these thick glasses now.
I played it like 100 times more than you, and somehow I can still see the color red. It's what else it did to my brain, I couldn't tell you, but oh well.
Oh my gosh, love it.
Well, on that note, guys, we do want to hop into the big stories for this week. But first, as always, we want to give a huge shout out to our amazing sponsors over at the Winner Live Arcade, guys. Live trivia, we're having so much fun doing these things. If you haven't experienced it yet, you got to get in there. It's happening all throughout the week. Times, no matter where you might be from, you're going to find a time slot that gets you in there so you can play live trivia with a real live host that is providing you new questions. Very simple concept. If you can answer all of those questions, you are going to win the ticket jackpot. And I'll tell you, you can get something nice in the Redemption Center with those tickets. Varying themes, varying hosts. There's a host for everybody. Your boy has been there. I think I'm working on my third session, or my fourth session, coming up tomorrow. That's the 18th. So join me then at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Answer all those questions. Get yourself a sweet prize, all gaming themed when I'm on there. And if you want to get that download link, just look in the description of this episode, and you'll be able to, for afterwards, and you'll be able to download and play Winner Live Arcade. Gets to also, when you're done, try the most amazing live claw machines that you're going to find. They are so much fun to play, easy to win. Tons of prizes. You may have seen me stream those before here and elsewhere. Thanks as always. Make sure to use our promo code WhatItDo when recharging your tokens at pay.app.winnerwinner.com. You're going to get a sweet deal with 45% free bonus tokens on your next purchase. All right, thank you as always again to our friends over at Winner. All right, yeah, Winner says they're excited for tomorrow night. I am too. It's been a lot of fun, because I create the questions for the live trivia. And it's a blast. Like it's making me kind of exercise my knowledge of like different games. I don't focus it on one console or era of gaming. So you got the PlayStation questions, you got the retro gaming questions. and even newer stuff too. So it definitely requires you to be a well-seasoned gaming veteran. And unlike Jeopardy, you don't have to phrase everything in the form of a question. You know, it's just a technicality. Let's be honest.
It gives you bonus points, though.
How does it? I didn't know that.
I don't know
how Jeopardy works.
Points don't matter, Bruno. The points don't matter.
Well, they do in this trivia session. Otherwise, you ain't getting the big bucks.
You ain't getting the big bucks.
Win.
Amazing stuff.
All
right, guys.
Business.
Well, we've got a big story to get in here to here rather, and that is The Last of Us premiere. According to Deadline.com, this premiere, of course, the adaptation of the PlayStation exclusive series, has drawn record numbers with the second largest debut in the history of HBO on Sunday night, with a very healthy 4.7 million viewers across all of their platforms on HBO that, of course, show it, like HBO Max. And that is the largest debut since House of the Dragon. And after that, it goes all the way back to Boardwalk Empire back in 2010. So you're talking about, when you're talking about HBO, you're talking about titans. You're talking about big, high production value shows, most of which have little or nothing to do with video games. So, I mean, Bruno, when you're looking at something like this and you're seeing these kind of numbers, I know you had a chance to actually see the premiere, so I think we're waiting for that spoiler-free kind of, oversight of what did you see, and do you think that these numbers can keep up?
That's a really interesting question, because I did see it, and I admit, in terms of video game adaptations, I think this is the best ever done. And I think there's a reason for that. I think the reason for that is because The Last of Us plays out like an interactive movie. My wife called it, a cinematic game, which I think is just a perfect term. It really is a cinematic game. And I think the source material that they're drawing from is very rich. Now, here's the question, or here's the big crux of this entire series, right? I think they can really create a solid series if they say, here is our beginning and here is our end. If they go into it with an open narrative and say, we're just going to take it wherever we decide to take it because it's a cash cow, I think it's going to lose that luster, right? I think the reason that it's doing so well is because essentially the first episode plays out like the first, I would say, hour of the game, right? Like it's incredible because you know what's going to happen, especially if you've played the game, right? I don't have to spoil anything for anyone, because if you played the game, you know what's going to happen. You get that all up front. So for those of you who haven't played the game, you're going to experience something really amazing, within the within the game. And not only that, by watching it as well. I think that because it was a movie, or because it was an episode series, which is an hour and 20 minutes long, mind you. So that's a really long first episode. It definitely had the ability to go above and beyond in terms of, what they were showing on camera. You got a little bit more in-depth, knowledge of these characters from the start, instead of just kind of dropping you into the game like it kind of does in on the Last of Us, the actual game. Go ahead, Brad.
So that was my next kind of flip that question a little bit. You kind of hinted at it, but I've never played the game. I'm going to be honest. Throw it out there. I'm that guy. I haven't played that game. So if you look at this from a production standpoint for a show, and not having known that this would have been a game beforehand, does it stack up production-wise, story-wise, for someone who has not, or someone who's not a video game player? They're just someone who's got an HBO Max subscription, and they say, hey, what's this? Last of Us? Let me turn that on and check it out. Do you think it holds a candle, no pun intended, to our previous conversation, to being as quality as some of the other shows that HBO Max puts out?
Oh, 100%. And the reason is like I said before, I think the source material is so good. And you're not going to hear a lot of praise from me regarding what PlayStation does right. If you've listened to our podcast for, any number of episodes, I'm not necessarily a PlayStation fan, but I'm not going to deny when they do amazing things. And The Last of Us is one of those games that plays out like a movie. Most of the moments in The Last of Us that make people think about the game have nothing to do with gunfighting. They have nothing to do with the actual gameplay itself. It's more of the conversations that the main two characters, Joel and Ellie, are having along this journey. And the moments that they share, that's really what it's about. And that's exactly what the series is about. The series has a few, maybe violent moments, but it's really tamed down on something that you would see from maybe like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead does what it does, great. Like it does what it does perfectly in terms of being a violent zombie type of movie or, series. Whereas The Last of Us, I think, is going to take a more narrative approach to everything in terms of the relationship between these two characters, just like the game. Now, like I said, I think that it doesn't really matter to me if you've played the game or not. I think you'll enjoy the series if you can get your hands and watch it. Now, will this stack up and hold up as time goes on? That really depends. I think, anyone who's watched The Walking Dead can clearly say that, the later seasons definitely didn't hold a candle to the early things, right? There's a tone of desperation in the later series versus what you get out of the front, and there's no hope, right? Like there's no hope in The Walking Dead. And that's a huge problem for people to continue watching a series if they feel there's no hope for a character.
Right.
And so, I think that that's where this is going to flip the script, is basically giving people a dynamic to watch. Right. Now, Nick, is this something that you were expecting to see in terms of the overall praise for something like this? I mean, I kind of think it was a softball pitch in terms of turning a video game into a series. This is the easiest one to do, wouldn't you say?
This has been one of the easiest ones to do. And what I'm seeing here, I think, Bruno, is a bit of a land grab when it comes to now. We have a successful proven formula for how you take just about any video game series and make it into something in some kind of form of media, whether it be TV series or movie. We for the longest time we didn't see it. Then, a series like, our movie like Detective Pikachu came out, and then, the Sonic movies came out and did really well. And now we're seeing the more serious material like The Witcher. I think The Witcher on Netflix was a really good bellwether for the idea of having a series that is based on a narrative-heavy game and having that narrative turned into something maybe not 100% loyal to the source. Brad, you were going to say something?
No, I was going to say, well, how would this stack up then to the Halo series that came out on Paramount Plus? I mean, we're talking about another game converted into a series. How does this stack up to that series, that season that came out on Paramount Plus?
Yeah. Well, you know me, I love using Halo as the comparative, thing for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's perfect. It's a perfect example because they really have tried to do it all. They've done a lot of different things. They've done, we've had books from Halo, we've had a TV series now, short films, that kind of thing. How does it stack up against it? It's no contest in terms of what we're seeing here from The Last of Us, at least in the first episode versus Halo, right? I think Halo rushed to do a lot of things. They rushed to take off and expose Master Chief's face. They decided to tell this new story. I think that's where they went wrong. The Last of Us, the TV show, is basically, it starts out exactly like the game. Like, I mean, essentially, you know, a little bit of, I would say 15 minutes of kind of like a prologue, right? Of like what's happening. But then it jumps right into the game and you know what's going to happen. And you get this sense of like, yep, this is all coming to a head, right? And if you ever play the game, honestly, the first 15 minutes of the Last of Us are enough to get anyone hooked. If you haven't seen the HBO series, then just go watch gameplay of The Last of Us and watch the first, like watch a playthrough, because it was one of those games that immediately captured your attention. And by the end of it, you know, you're crying, right? Similar to like Red Dead Redemption. Now, I've never cried during a Halo game. Maybe from, you know, a lag or, you know, something like that, you know, pissed me off or something. But for the most part, I've never really had those types of feels. So again, I'm going back to saying that it's the source material here that's lending itself to such a successful series. You're not going to have a God of War Ragnarok series that's as good as the game, because the point of God of War is to beat the crap out of, you know, whatever comes in your way, right? And same thing with like Grand Theft Auto. Like Grand Theft Auto wouldn't make a great movie or series because it's essentially a parody of series that are like that. You know, it's a parody of things like Scarface and whatnot, and mafia movies and crime stuff. So you can't take that and kind of reverse engineer it and make something popular. You know, and I think that Halo, by doing something unique and basically saying we're going to do our own thing, it was a recipe for disaster from the start. You know, we wanted to learn about John. We wanted to learn about more about him. But in the end, you know, I want to see Halo the game as a movie or a TV series, right? I want to see what I did in game translated into a movie format. And that's what The Last of Us did. They took exactly what was going on in the game and made it a movie. They didn't say, you know what, let's tell Ellie's story before she ever got there and you know, completely disregard everything that we're going to do. No, that'll come later. That'll come in intermittent, you know, pieces to the story to let you know that type of thing. I fully believe in that, but they didn't set out from the get-go to say, no, all the stuff we've done IP wise is worthless. Right? Like,
so it raises the question too. I think source material and sticking to that is key. I think that's a very good point. I agree. I don't want to see an adaptation or a rehash of a different story that's different than the game. But I would also argue the other key piece that we haven't talked about here, and I'm going to kick it to Nick here, is casting, right? You want to make sure you cast the right people to represent your characters in this adaptation, right? In this series or movie. And you know, I have to say, 2023 is coming up. Pedro Pascal. I mean, he's in this, and Mandalorian season 3 is coming back. I mean, the dude's kind of on fire right now. But what do you think, Nick? Do you think he was the right call as kind of one of the main people to be in this show? Do you think he does? Or I guess, Bruno, you've watched it. Does he do the character justice? Like, is there a realism there that you feel coincides from the game to the actors on the screen? I'll open it up to both of you. What do you guys think? Is the actors a big part of this too?
Mm-hmm.
I think the casting's great. I think obviously having Pedro Pascal kind of get in on this was an easy pull, an easy win for them with his name right now. I think that the character of Ellie is actually really well done as well. She kind of looks like the real actress who plays the voice of Ellie and kind of sounds like her too. So it's clear that they not only looked for actors and actresses that resembled the characters, but also sounded like them as well. I think it's really well done. I think the casting's great, you know, and it's hard to compare that to Halo because Halo decided to create a bunch of new characters, right? that we don't have gaming translations for. And so I think that that's kind of where it gets muddied and whatnot. But I tell you, you were talking about, we're talking about how we've got great source material to go from. HBO might have hit a home run with The Last of Us, but Velma is an absolute dumpster fire. And I think that is a perfect example of how you can literally crap on an IP and completely alienate the fans who love it and the people who would watch it, and basically say, no, you don't know better than us. We know better than you. You're just not watching it right. You're not appreciating it because you're not the right demographic. It's not the right, whatever it may be. And that's a problem. Whenever you have any showrunner looking at you, HBO Max with this Velma series, looking at you 343, and you'd rather listen to the executives in the room than the fans who are going to watch the show, you've got a problem. You don't know better than the fans. And right. I think that there have been maybe a few instances in history where the fans have been wrong about something, like the overall backlash for something was unwarranted and we were proven wrong.
Right.
But this ain't one of them, boy. This is, I tried to watch it. I really did try to watch it. And it just felt like it was an attack on people who liked the original series. And it was kind of almost self-justifying. Like it was trying to be self-righteous in what it was portraying and what it was doing. And very, very heavy-handed to the point where you're just like, I get it. I get it. You're a cartoon. You're doing something different. Move on with it. But when you start to peel back the layers of that rotten onion, you see that, okay, not only did you change the ethnicity of all the characters, okay, I'm fine with that, whatever, but you don't have to draw attention to it every 5 seconds. You don't have to draw attention to the fact that, this person, of the mystery squad or whatever is, a white douchebag, and that's his only personality trait in that, or the fact that Shaggy's not even Shaggy in this, or there's no Scooby. Like, you know what I mean? They basically paint the picture from the start of this Velma series is basically, this is my origin story, which I'm totally for, like a Velma origin story, right? But then they say, and this is how it really happened. This is how everything really happened. And I think you have a problem with that right from the start, to basically say, no, our adaptation is now the proper canon, right? This is exactly how it happened. And this POS, this piece of garbage is now exactly what is lore. That would make anyone mad. It'd make anyone mad because if you don't agree with the series, then you don't essentially agree with the rest of how everything was formed. And there's only ways, the only way to kind of combat that is to retroactively go back and reboot a lot of things, which we see in movies all the time, where they basically redo a movie and they're like, you know what? We're ignoring everything that happened after Jurassic Park 1. This is all a new world here.
Yeah.
Right? It happens.
Oh, for sure. And it's totally fine to take creative liberties with that kind of thing. I just, what I'm seeing here to kind of bring this full circle is, like I said before, I'm seeing a land grab. We're seeing that The Witcher proved it can be done and that you can have multiple successful seasons of a show. And now The Last of Us is showing, hey, all these narrative heavy games that have been around for a long time, some less than others, there's something there. And it's so easy to take it and adapt it because the story is written for you. Like you said, it's so focused on this, whereas Halo was more about the action, and other series that have been adapted was more about the action. What I'm seeing here,
this is really where PlayStation should
exactly
put their eggs.
And that's the point I'm making here. Is that, you look at all these PS exclusives, and Sony has in-house, I mean, their TV as much as they're anything else. They're TV more so than they are gaming. So, I mean, I think they're going to see this, and my prediction here is we're going to see a adaptation of some sort of Horizon within the next, I'd say, 5 years, because they're going to see the money and the ratings this is going to have, and they're going to say, well, what other IPs can we adapt without having to go like full animation, like, you know, Ratchet and Clank, right? You don't want to go that's going to up the production value. When you have a show in a realistic setting, you know, naturally those production costs come down. So I could see them looking at, like you said, Bruno, maybe not God of War, but I think it'd either be God of War or Horizon would be the next show. They'd be like, yeah, let's make that happen.
You know, they've had a ton of games. I remember there was I think it was a PS3 or PS4 exclusive game that came out that was like based on like, I want to say like vampire slaying or something. I think it was called like The Order or something like that. And it was more of a movie, right? And that was the big complaint from everyone was like, oh my God, there's so many cutscenes in this and quick time events. It was just an interactive movie. I think that Sony has the library for that. I really do. I think that, and they've kind of proven that, I think that that's where they're headed, to be honest. We've got The Last of Us, right? We've got Gran Turismo is going to be made into a movie, which actually looks awesome. I already told you guys that that's going to get me back in the theater. So I'm ready for the Sony movie train in terms of what they can bring to the table. I mean, who doesn't like Spider-Man? I mean, the original Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 are revered today, you know, in terms of, you know, Marvel movies and whatnot. So I think they have a lot of IPs that they can kind of draw from and really bring some great series and movies to us. Hopefully they start to pull from the right thing. I think Uncharted, you know, and I'll leave it at this. I think Uncharted would have been a better series than it was a movie.
Right. There you go. That's an example of one that just didn't go well. Yeah.
So that's just, you know, that was just, it was, like I said, it was I think that it was perfect casting and everything. There was nothing they did wrong, but some things lend themselves better to a series. Some things lend themselves better to a movie. Knowing what that is really important. So hopefully they figure that out.
Well, Brad, I'll tell you what my favorite series is, and that's the series of products that you can get over at advanced.gg. Guys, Advanced.gg offers powders, supplements, and even canned drinks with the first ever clinically proven ingredients that improve your mental performance when gaming. You can trust us because we use the stuff. I got the powder, Brad's got the pre-mixed drinks, delicious flavors, you mix it right in, you give it the shake, and it's great natural energy made with green tea, caffeine. You're gonna love this stuff. Put in as much as you like or as little as you like. You get to choose. And again, there's so many amazing flavors to choose from, so check them out. Again, no fillers or chalky aftertaste. It helps quicken your decision making. It's actually clinically proven to help in esports gaming performance. So if you want to be an esportser just like us, then you should definitely check out Advanced.gg. Guys, use promo code QTB10 when checking out at advanced.gg and save 10% off your order. That's a QTB10. Make 2023 the year that you secure that dub with advanced.gg. All right, guys, listen, we have got a very exciting news story, and this is actually, a lot of this is breaking as of the recording of this podcast, and it's talking about the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers. You know, you got a group of millennial dudes here that very much grew up in the heyday of the original series, and it's really cool to see this because the story coming from IGN talking about the new reunion photos that were released alongside the filming of this special. So essentially what is happening here is a series that it's being called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always, a one-off special that will be on, again, Netflix in April, and is bringing back much of the original cast from the first 3 seasons and beyond, in some cases, of Power Rangers. They've got Walter Emmanuel Jones as Zach, a.k.a. the Black Ranger, David Yost as Billy, the Blue Ranger, coming back. Catherine Sutherland, she was the one that eventually replaced Kimberly, right? Coming back as Kat, or the Pink Ranger. Steve Cardenas, who was the second Red Ranger that replaced Jason during that swap out, as Rocky. Karen Ashley as Aisha. Johnny Young Bosch is coming back as Adam, again, who was also the Black Ranger that replaced Walter Emmanuel Jones. So a lot of these people are getting to work together for the first time, despite being on the same series.
I wonder how that's going to go, because he was the Black Ranger as well.
Yeah. So they show that he. So what they're doing is, and we'll kind of get into the canon of this. He's actually coming back as a Green Ranger, but not the Mighty Morphin Green Ranger. There's a separate show
Zeo.
that they're not even Zeo. No, they're going like 6 or 7 seasons into the future to pull lore and say that they're part of that team. And also, this is where people are getting excited. Barbara Goodson as Rita Repulsa. Okay, we're getting Rita back, and that's a big deal because it's going to be the classic villains and the classic characters. I even saw the Putty Patrol, getting ready to throw down there in some of that footage. So I mean, it's very, very cool because some people don't know this, but Hasbro actually acquired the rights to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers back in 2018. I think first it was the toy rights, decision. And now now they're making the shows as well. And the huge benefit of that is Hasbro is very much into establishing cinematic universes and respecting past and present material. You see it in Transformers and a lot of the other IPs that they've kind of acquired or created over the years. And so they have been working with a lot of companies to create these legacy content concepts. There's a tabletop RPG for Power Rangers that had Paul Schreier, aka Bulk, playing one of the characters during their live performances, which was really cool. And we're seeing more of this where it almost reminds me, Brad, of Doctor Who, in that it's a show that has been around for a very long time and is always trying to find ways to bring in past characters, past seasons, past villains into the forefront to keep new generations interested, while old generations can also feel like the time that they spent, that they sunk into the series was worthwhile, right?
100%. I mean, I feel like this is going to be, I wonder, I do feel it is a bummer, obviously with the recent loss of Jason David Frank and him not being able to be a part of this, although I think he was working on his own Power Ranger spinoff, right? Legend of the White Dragon or something like that. But to have this many people still come back and there be this kind of multi-generational, multi-series reunion and there be the combination of nostalgia and future entertainment for the new generation. I really hope it lives up to the excitement that I'm feeling right now that you just described, right? The last thing we want is for it to come off cheesy or stale or a bit over the top, right? I hope the story they've got with it and bringing back a nostalgic villain will help, or villains, maybe there'll be more than one, we don't know, will help give that credibility to make sure that there's a feeling no, this is tying back historically to 30 years of this show being a part of kids' lives throughout the last 3 decades. So I'm excited. I'll be watching on Netflix in April. I'll be ready for it. But I do feel that if I could have my dream scenario, obviously we'd have the full arrangement of the original Rangers making their comeback. But obviously with life and events, some of that's just not possible. But still super excited and to see David Yost post about it and see him, reprising his role is that nostalgia hit you need sometimes to get your day going.
Yeah.
It's especially heavy because, and Bruno, I do want to get your take on it. You mentioned David Yost there real quick, Brad. I do want to say, it's very, very powerful to me that he's come back onto the series. Not a lot of people know this, but during the filming of the original Power Rangers, David is openly gay. And Saban, who created the original Power Rangers, was not into that one bit, very much homophobic. And so, there were, and he's gone on many shows and recounted his time on the series of there was some bad blood there between me and certain cast members and especially the producers. And he felt like he was very much persecuted for just expressing himself. And that was a problem because a lot of these actors were very much underpaid. They, didn't have any prior acting experience. And that was Saban's MO was but just recruit anybody and bring them in cheap. And so for him to have those fences or mended, or rather to unburn those bridges in a way where he's comfortable coming on and being the face of this franchise again, I think is really encouraging, Bruno. We're seeing in the newest season of Power Rangers that was just announced called Cosmic Fury, we're having the first ever full-time female Red Ranger for the first time in 30 years because this show never stopped. So, I mean, in a way, I think, Bruno, I think Power Rangers, whether it meant to or not, has always kind of celebrated diversity, right? In the people that they portray being on a team and working together to solve problems.
Definitely. I think that that's the whole point of the show, at least from my understanding, was that, diversity, and they even had several cultural related episodes for Power Rangers where, we might learn a little bit more about Trini's character, and not a lot of people know that she passed away too, early in her life, she was living in San Francisco and got in a car wreck. And I did see a little bit of the Green Ranger in those promos.
Yeah.
And I think that this may have been filmed before JDF's untimely suicide.
Right.
And I think that they did the right thing by not posting anything or a lot of him in that. I think they are going to give fans the closure. I'm hoping. That's what I'm really hoping for with this. I really hope that it kind of gives us the closure that we need, seeing Jason David Frank one more time as the Green Ranger.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all looking for. And I think they know that. I think I think they're respecting that. And I think that that's why we're seeing this trailer now. I think that's why we're seeing a lot of David Yost in here in terms of, having him come back to Power Rangers and kind of reconcile with this. I think this is a big step for the series in general. And I want to say that, how crazy is it that this is, Pokemon is almost the same thing, although there is this, central character that has led the series the entire time.
Yeah.
Power Rangers is very much like an extended cinematic universe, and the first of its kind, really. I think when we were younger and they were transitioning from Power Rangers to Power Rangers Zeo, and certain people got left behind, it was hard for us as kids because, we didn't understand. That's not something that we kids had ever really experienced, right? Falling in love with the character, having a series continue, and that character not being there anymore. And then you get to be an adult and you're like, well, I don't recognize any of these people or any of the bad guys or anything. It looks totally different than what I imagine. And then they started coming out with those like all Red Ranger episode where
Great
all
episode.
the Red Rangers came back, and then they had the Legacy toys re-release. Hasbro did that where you could go out and buy the things that you had as a kid. And oh man, it's a good thing that I didn't have a lot of money at that time, because I would have sunk every last dollar into everything. The only thing that I could get was a Jason David Frank Green Ranger, White Ranger Morpher. I still have it. It's the only thing that I could afford at the time.
Yeah.
Because they were so pricey. But I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see them continue this. And I'm excited to see them realize that adults who are willing to watch these old series, they're willing to get back into them. Not only that, this is a great bridge to gap the generational, divide between, the kids that we have, our son's growing up. I can't wait till he starts watching Power Rangers, and to have something that can show like him, them, 30, almost 30 years later. Right. It really is incredible. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be amazing. I think they've done a great job in the past with those reunion episodes. So I'm excited for this one as well.
I'm with you, Bruno. I'm pulling out my Green Ranger Dragon Dagger that I've saved from like the mid 90s that plays the song. Like you press the buttons on the
Gotta
side.
have the flute.
Oh,
That's
nice.
right.
I had that. Yeah. I had all the stuff, bro. Had all the stuff. Unfortunately, there was a fire and everything got lost. So,
oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer, man.
We'll find one. We'll scour the eBays. We'll find you one.
I am.
Price is about to go up, so get it now. Yeah.
Price is They probably already have.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, but you know, it's great to see this type of you know, resurrection of the IP, and I think that these are the lessons that we can learn, right? You know, I think that, you know, Velma and The Last of Us and Power Rangers are perfect examples of IPs that are perfect. And let me clarify. I will say this about Velma. If Velma was not part of the Scooby-Doo universe and was just some random person and they just got some random group of kids to kind of solve murders, it would be a lot better. But I think when you take the source material and you change it and you say, this person is now this character, or it is now, this is their personality, it kind of, you know, it almost seems like you're spitting in the face of the people who like the series. And if your mentality with that is, oh, I don't care if you don't like, if the original fans don't like the series, it's not for them, then who's it for? Right? Who is it for? Right? Who is Halo for? Is it for, or, you know, who's the Halo series for? Who's the Last of Us series for? Because I can look at all of those and I can clearly see that The Last of Us is, and Power Rangers are there for the original fans. Right. They're both there to give the fans what they want. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if your fans want mac and cheese for dinner, give them mac and cheese.
You got to give the people what they want.
Don't give them fettuccine Alfredo.
Don't do it.
Okay? I mean, it's good, but I wanted mac and cheese.
I just did a price check, man. We missed the boat, gents. It's pricey.
Oh, that was the face?
Yeah. We're talking already pre-owned open. We're talking minimum $100, $110 for a Green Ranger Dragon Dagger.
I would have priced that about there.
That's about what they cost when they came out. So that's not too bad.
And then there's
this is
one,
the legacy one?
Yeah, the 1994 original that plays sounds, the 3 buttons. Oh. And then there's also one that's in the original box, unopened, for like significantly more.
Well, see, so they had 2 things. So there's the original 1994 version, and then there's legacy versions of all these things that have come out since then.
No, I'm talking the OG, the OG 1994 one that's got that.
I'd settle for the legacy one. I don't have to have the. I mean.
You don't need to prove anything.
I'd settle for that. Yeah, I don't need to prove anything. I had it once, like.
So cool. I mean, it's just I'm so excited, guys. You know, I rarely hide my my guilty pleasure of having seen way too many seasons of Power Rangers. I think it was back in like 2015 or so when they were all on Netflix. They might still be. In that,
I think a good portion of them are.
Yeah, I had started at the original and I had worked all the way up until. When they moved back to Nickelodeon, or moved to Nickelodeon with Power Rangers Samurai, a few seasons after that as well, I also watched. There's like 5 or 6 seasons that are recent that I have not watched. But I mean, it's great. Like there's seasons that where they go into space multiple different times, and there's like crossovers between those seasons and the ones before and after it. There's a continuity in a way. Not always, because you know Disney bought it, and then it went back to Saban, and then it went over to Nick. Like it has been Power Rangers has been passed around. But what I love is that I had mentioned earlier the Green Ranger. Johnny Young Bosch plays a Green Ranger. Him and the character that plays Aisha. They are being shown in Space Patrol Delta Jackets. That is a Disney season that came. I want to say about season 10 or 11. Where, you know, it takes place way in the future, and now Earth has, you know, aliens living on planet Earth. It was a really well done season. It was almost like a procedural, like cop drama that was also like an action show. And what I loved about that was there were some seasons where the directors took liberties to actually create a different Power Rangers from what you're used to. There was one season where they thought that Power Rangers was going to go under, and it was going to without a buyout, which Nickelodeon helped with. So the final season that was supposed to be Power Rangers RPM, and they actually basically ripped off the Terminator and created this like dystopian future where like mankind has been eradicated, and there's like one city that's left, and like it's all about this one city just fighting for its life. And I mean, it's still a kid show at the end of the day, but there's some like it was one of the I will say one of the darker shows that I've seen in terms of the way that a story is presented. So it's definitely
That's
run
crazy.
the gambit. It is crazy. But they thought they were going to get canceled. They're like, whatever, who cares? we come on at 4 a.m. on Saturdays. Let's just do it.
Going at 4 a.m.
So yeah, I'm super pumped about this, and I think any fan, any '90s kid is looking at this and is ready for all the feels when many of our favorites come on the screen. I will say this: Walter Emmanuel Jones
Hasn't aged.
he is not aged. He's like Paul Rudd. What happened? You put him next to Billy. It's like a hyperbolic time chamber situation. Like what?
I know, but
What skin cream are you selling?
Nick, you know what I'm pumped about?
Nick?
You're just pumped about that. You know,
An old sassy. Listen, before you get to that, Brad, I was gonna say an old sassy black lady told me once, "Black don't crack." So.
And there's your proof.
Well,
there's your proof.
You talked about being pumped for Power Rangers. You know what I'm pumped about?
Yeah.
Our growing list
What are
of
you pumped
Patreon
about?
subscribers. Can you tell them? Can you shout them out for us?
Oh my gosh, thank you for reminding me. Yes, thank you to our QTB and Fuego supporters. I'm talking about Epic Capture Productions, Matt.That, Alexa, Caitlin, Josh, Court Nene, and Megan, and our QTB Plus supporters, Nick, the Dudist Monk, Indie Gamiacs, Alan Abadessa, Mr. Grove Games, the Intergalactic Pinecone, Fluffy Bunny, and Terry the Kitten. If you would like to join that growing list of supporters, its tier start as low as $2 per month at patreon.com/quitthebuild. By far one of the best ways to support us, guys. It really helps us out there on Patreon. You get exclusive merch that you can't get anywhere else, and you also get to be there for our recording sessions for our very popular new monthly segment, QTB Nights, where we throw out the script and we just talk about whatever. We are the Seinfeld of podcasts. You're going to have a blast. Like I said, we got into a huge argument over candles. And of course, you get the recorded version after. You get this podcast early. I mean, there's tons of things. Check it out today at quitthebuild.com, rather at patreon.com/quitthebuild. There you go. Good timing on that fart because I blew it.
I mean,
man.
you
of
never
course,
know.
and don't forget.
You never know what's going to come with QTB Nights. That's all I'll say. You got to be there.
Yeah.
You got to be there, witness it. What happens at QTB Nights stays at QTB Nights.
Oh, and I have to also give a shout out to our newest Enfuego supporter, Ashley. That's right. Yes. So I have to get Ashley on the list. Thank you so much, Ashley, for moving up there to the Enfuego tier. That is awesome. You're going to love the merch. You're going to love the merch because the merch you get every 3 months when you're in the Enfuego tier, you can only get it through Patreon. And it's some very cool designs from past and present that you're going to really, really fall in love with in cool ways, mugs and posters and all that kind of thing. So enjoy that. And yes, Ashley, thank you so much for bumping up there. I'll make sure to get you on that list. Well, guys, I think that's going to about do it for today's episode. Again, don't forget to check us out at quitthebuild.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things QTB. We've got the blog. We've got the links to all of our network partners. You got to check them out, guys. So many amazing shows with the same level of positivity and inclusivity that you're getting right here, like 1 Hour, One Decision, the Double DQ Wrestling Podcast, and of course our network streamers like Kung Fu Penguin and Enzo is Mad. Even our network musicians like Beat It, okay? I'm telling you, that new album is something. You want to check it out, and you might even hear a little snippet of it there on the intro of QTB Nights. Yeah, from Hydroplane. That's a track, man. A little saxophone action for you.
That's a track.
It's a bop, man. That's what I call my scooting music, you know?
Ooh,
when it's nighttime, you know, and it's I'm on the highway. I need some synth waves. I need some saxophone, you know?
I got
I need some. I can see the net, the kind of like the what we have around us right now, right? That grid, you know, kind of synth grid thing happening there. You can just see it in the horizon. Okay, there you go. Well, Bruno, I think it's time to do the thing.
Boy, it's been an amazing time here on the QTB podcast. I can't believe that fast. I wish I could speak a little bit faster for this, but I can't. So, for Nick and Brad, I'm Bruno.
For Bruno and Brad, I'm Nick.
And from Nick and Bruno, I'm Brad.
Peace out. What it do? I can't speak that fast.
Quit the Build. The Build.